Hello everyone, hello. This year is dedicated to Lili Nishmas, Rachalei Abbas, Reb Chaim Tzvi. Okay, this is actually our 15th class about the Sefer Chafetz Chaim, and we're coming to the end of his various introductions to the Sefer Chafetz Chaim. And we're in the middle of the list, the famous list of 31 mitzvos and averos that a person could violate if he speaks Lashon Hara. And we're at the end of the list now, mitzvah Yudalid, and then he has a very important summary at the end of the list, and then he goes on to the Arurin, the curses, that's the English there, curses that relate to Lashon Hara as well, and that's really the end of the introduction to the Sefer Chafetz Chaim. So here's mitzvah Yudalid. The Chofetz Chaim writes as follows: Od nira she'over gam al mitzvah sasei dir v'halachta b'drachav. If a person speaks Lashon Hara, they're violating the mitzvah of halachta b'drachav. There's a mitzvah saseh to go in the ways of Hashem. Have good midos. Follow the ways of Hashem. The Chofetz Chaim continues. Shenitztavinu bazeh, we are commanded leilech b'midos of Shakadosh Baruch Hu, to follow the midos, the characteristics, the character traits of Hashem. Asherim kulam rak l'tov, they're all for good. K'mamarim zal, as Chazal say, mahu rachum afatarachum, mahu chanun, afatachanun. Hashem is merciful, Hashem is kind, we have to be merciful, we have to be kind. And all the other midos tovos, u'v'chayotze bezer, shar midos tovos, the other midos tovos. Person is supposed to have good midos. Other Chazal say, just like Hashem is gomel chesed and does chesed, we have to do chesed. Hashem visits the sick by Avram Avinu, we have to visit the sick, etc. We're supposed to copy Hashem's good midos. Obviously, speaking Lashon Hara goes against the good midos of Hashem. Hashem means it's positive, obviously, goes without saying. Umatzinu, just to sharpen the point, the Chofetz Chaim writes, Umatzinu b'kadosh Baruch Hu b'midos v'kadoshos v'atahoros shusone dilatoria b'chol afanim. Hashem, in His perfect kadosh and midos kadosh, His perfect holy, pure midos, Hashem hates negative speech totally in all ways, hates negative. Even about somebody who's really not such a good person, like Achan, we'll get to. Am I a Lashon Hara speaker? By the Maisa of Achan. And Hashem only looks out for the good and doesn't look out for the bad. Hashem is positive. Hashem avoids Lashon Hara himself, kaviyach, as we'll see. So speaking Lashon Hara violates the mitzvah of halachta b'drachav. Just a few comments about this. Number one, the mitzvah of halachta b'drachav is a very significant mitzvah. There's a Sefer Avas Chesed. It's not the Sefer of the Chofetz Chaim. It's the next Sefer that he wrote about Chesed. Okay. And in the introduction he points out that this phrase of halachta b'drachav is mentioned 8 times in Chumash Dvarim. It's uncommon that a mitzvah is repeated 8 times. This is a very significant mitzvah. Halachta b'drachav, lo leches b'chol drachav, etc. And the Chofetz Chaim there gives a list. Well, look at the introduction to the Sefer Avas Chesed. He has a list. Again, the Chofetz Chaim likes to list the mitzvahs as we've been discussing. 8 times in Chumash Dvarim alone that this mitzvah is mentioned. A very, very significant mitzvah. Now, what exactly is this idea of Achan? So this is actually very interesting. This is a halachic point. The Chofetz Chaim uses this as a halachic point later on. He quotes this whole story with Achan. What happened with Achan? So it goes as follows. If you look in Klal Yud in the Chofetz Chaim, in Seif Beis, it's towards the end of the Sefer, Klal Yud Seif Beis, the Chofetz Chaim is discussing speaking Lashon Hara l'toelis. That you're speaking Lashon Hara for some sort of benefit, for some productive purpose, so one's allowed to, with conditions. There are certain conditions that one has to meet. Okay. He has a list of 7 conditions. The 6th condition is that Lashon Hara l'toelis is mutter only if you can't bring about the same toelis, the same benefit, without the Lashon Hara. If you can accomplish the same thing without the Lashon Hara, then since it's unnecessary, that's usher. So even though your intention is for good, and your intention is for a toelis, and you've reached the other conditions, but if there's a different way of doing things, you can't speak the Lashon Hara. That's what he writes. Let's read it inside. It's letter Vav in the middle of Klal Yud Seif Beis. Im hu yachol lesabev es hatoeles hazos gufa beitz acheres. If you can bring about this particular benefit in some other way, with some other idea, shelo yitztarich lesaper in Lashon Hara olav. But you won't have to speak the Lashon Hara. Azai b'chol gavnei aser lesaper. Then it tells you to speak the Lashon Hara. Lashon Hara toeles is mutter only if there's no other way to do it. You have no other way out. But if there's another way to bring about the same benefit, you can't speak the Lashon Hara. Okay. The example that's given is, let's say there's a potential